Okay, hi, I'm Linda Kennedy. I'm the Assistant Dean of Student Life, and working with parents is my pleasure and responsibility. I've also been a parent of college students, and I get a little choked up when I think about that. I don't get to go to family weekends anymore because I love these so much. So in the next 2 hours, what's going to happen is the great people from Career Services, and I say that with absolute respect and affection. This is an incredible team of people that we have at Career Services at Dartmouth. They, from 10 to 10:45, are going to give a talk right here, right now, about networking, connections, and all those ways that students can leverage different aspects of Dartmouth and their lives to go forward. So, okay, so in this room, 10 to 10:45. Then, from 10:45 to 11:30 in this room will be speed networking. And you've probably read about speed dating in the Wall Street Journal or Time Magazine or something, and that's where people get in concentric circles. And the idea is that you can, in speed dating, is if you meet somebody, you can tell within 3 minutes whether you actually want to go on a date with them or not. So you don't bother to go on the date if you don't really want to go on the date, you know, and you move on. But so anyway, we're interpreting that having to do with connections and meeting other people. So we've got a lot of moms and dads, and I think some grandparents actually, that are going to help out by standing in front of all these numbers, and the students will talk with them about their various professions. We've got quite a variety. It's really terrific. I'm so pleased that a lot of you volunteered to talk about what you do. At the same time, the parents that are not doing that are invited to come back to 101, which is the room behind the stage, where we'll have people from the Rockefeller Center, Dickey Center, and the Tucker Foundation, which are very important parts of our college, talking about options that students have to get involved with what they do. And there's a little more description in your booklet. So you can go to that from 11 to 11:30 while the speed networking is going on in here. Or if you are a speed networking mom and dad, you can wait till 11:30 when you're done. If you have any energy left after talking to 200 students in 45 minutes, you can go to that from 11:30 to 12. And for the people that go to this, to that, from 11 to 11:30, from 11:30 to 12, you have free time, okay? And that's how it goes. So I think that the Career Services gang has gotten everything set up, and they're going to introduce themselves. But if you'll just join me in welcoming them, we'll get them started.
Hello, my name is Kim Sauerwein, and I'm Assistant Director of Career Services, and this is Kathryn Doughty. She is the Senior Associate Director of Career Services, and I'm going to quickly shout out to the crew is Monica Wilson in the back here with a clipboard, Rodrigo Ramirez in the black, Karen Whittet, and Stacy Barton. So that's our crew. We're going to be orchestrating this whole event. And we did it last year. It was very successful and really fun for students and parents. So I'm curious, how many students do we have here? Can you just raise your hand so we can get a feel? And I assume that people signed up on clipboards. She's going to send them. They're going to send them around. So we just need the students to sign in on clipboard so we know who's here. And then how many parents do we have here? Quite a few, yay! We love to see you guys because this is really exciting, and we love seeing you in person and talking to you now. Occasionally, it's the day before graduation, and you show up and you say, my student's never been in here, and I don't know what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. And we say, okay, wish you would have come earlier, but we'll work with you. So this presentation is really to talk a little bit about what students can do. And for those of you parents who don't have your students here with you, this gives you lots of information to feed to your students because it's the student's responsibility, it's their life, it's their career, and we're going to give you some hints, parents, on how to support the students in their future career adventure, okay? So we're going to start, oh, wait a minute. So tip number one is you're going to attend Jumpstart. So those students that are here, give yourself a pat on the back. Good job. You've already done the #1 tip for getting started on your career adventure. How many students who are here have been into career services? Excellent. So glad to see that you've been in. And those of you who haven't will be in within the summer, I hope. All right, go ahead. Okay, so our office offers a lot of different opportunities for students to engage. The first is career exploration and advising. There are a number of students on campus who have no idea where they're going to get started, okay? I don't know what my job's going to be. I don't know even what my major's going to be. This is a chance for you to connect with our office to do some self-assessment, learn a little bit about yourself, or explore a little bit about your interests, your skills, and your values to really figure out what direction you might want to go in. And then secondly, looking at your options and seeing, okay, now that I know about myself, what kinds of careers are out there that I can connect with? And we can assist you with that. Second is a job or internship search. So how many students here have a leave term within the next year? Okay, most of you probably do if you didn't do one in your sophomore year. And so we can assist you with finding an internship, preparing for an internship, starting to write a resume. All of these things, we really work with you on the strategies for securing an internship. And we recommend that you start at least 2 terms in advance of your leave term to start the internship search. Now, those of you who have a leave term in the fall and don't have anything secured yet, it's not too late. You can still come in and we can still talk with you about how you can go about continuing your search for an internship. Graduate and professional school advising, we have a pre-law advisor, Karen Whittet. We have health professions advisors. We have also graduate school advising. In regard to graduate school advising, we really assist students with the process as opposed to the details of a particular program, because that's what your faculty are for. So if you're interested in a political science graduate program, we encourage all students to be in close connection with your faculty, but you can also use us as a resource to kind of start that exploration or strategize for your future graduate school application. Credentials is letters of recommendation, and so we have a service in our office called LEO, Letters of Evaluation Online. So any student from first year through senior year can ask a professor for a letter of recommendation, and the professor will submit it to Career Services, and we hold it online for 10 years after you graduate. So even if you have no idea what your future career holds, you can actually get a general letter of recommendation that says, hey, this person is a good student, they're smart, they're interesting, they have very good character. And then you can use that whether you're applying to jobs or internships or graduate or professional school. And then finally, employment, which is a lot of folks connect our office with employment. Some of you may have heard the term corporate recruiting. This is not what we call it, okay? It's not just corporate. There's an extensive recruiting program led by Monica Wilson, right here, where employers actually come to campus to do interviews for students, and there's a little bit more that we'll talk about that. We have information sessions where employers will come in and do information sessions about their career field, their industry, and about their specific employer. And there's also the Employer Connections Fair. This is an event that happens in the fall, and typically, Monica, what's the dates this year? September 29th and 30th, so you'll see that's within the first 2 weeks of class. It happens right when you get here because the employers are just so anxious to see you students. And so they come in, and it's more of a networking event. It's not where you pass out your resumes. It's really talking to the employer, learning more about the employer, getting a business card. So we're going to practice some of the networking in a little bit, but this is something that you'll be able to use and practice again when the Employer Connections Fair comes up in September. All right, tip number 2, and this is especially for parents, will be helpful. Our website is new, and we've just redeveloped it, and this is a place that you can go to see what all resources we have in the office, and also you can utilize some of the resources right online. So students, we recommend that you first click on register and get started if you haven't done this. You can go into Dartboard and register. Dartboard is our platform that we use for our recruiting program and also other listings. And you can register your interest. You can say, I have an interest in working in human services or science or sports. And then you can find out information about those different career areas through our office. We send out notices about upcoming events through Dartboard, so if you've registered with Dartboard, then you can get information about what's coming up, and you can also review job and internship listings. Okay, so Dartboard is like a hub where you can actually go in and find multiple different databases to find different internships and job opportunities. Okay, in the getting started, it tells you a little bit about internship tutorials, okay? So those of you who are thinking about this internship and you haven't yet gotten started, you can come into our office, check our Blitz Bulletin for the times, but you can come into our office and just get a tutorial. It's kind of a tour, 30 to 45-minute tour of the office to see what resources are available for people looking for internships. Every afternoon from 1:30 to 4, we have walk-in sessions, and these are sessions where you can come in and ask any quick question, okay? The quick question might be, how do I get started, or what should I even be thinking about? The question might be, I've developed a resume, but I don't yet know how to write a cover letter to apply to these jobs. Or the question might be, I've looked at 6 different sources, but I need more ways to find internships. And we can assist you with all kinds of different things. We also review cover letters during that time. We have half-hour appointments, and this is something that you would schedule in advance if you want to actually meet with a career advisor. So whereas the walk-ins are 15-minute quick sessions, the half-hour appointments are a little more extensive, more in-depth, and you work with a career advisor that you may end up working with over time to develop your own plan. So one of the goals that we have when you come in for a counseling session is to develop an action plan. Okay, if you do X, Y, and Z within the next 2 weeks, then you'll be right on your way. Or then come back if you have questions. And so we work with you on the appointments. I talked a little bit about self-assessment earlier, but one of the things that we have at Career Services is some career assessments. And this is not the career assessment that you took in high school where you found out that you would be a really good funeral director or you'd found out you'd be a good garbage collector. It's not that. This is more focused towards college students who have a degree and are thinking about where their interests, skills, values, and even personality connect to certain careers. And so we use these career assessments as a starting point to really help you on your career exploration. They're not a stopping point, but it's just to get started on your own career exploration. Did you want to add anything on that? Kathryn is our resident expert on that. Finally, on the website is the events calendar, so you can find out what's coming in the fall. When you come in, you'll see immediately the career fair, what's coming. We'll have cover letter sessions where you can learn how to write a cover letter. We'll have interviewing sessions. We have lots of information that'll be held through our events calendar. All right, tip number 3 is exploring your career options. So I'm going to go back and kind of tell you how we organize our office and the way we think about the work that we do. We start with discovery, that's the self-exploration. Then we go to options, what are the options that are out there, and then strategy. So it's discovery, options, strategy. And this is the options slide and some of the things that we do to help the students explore their options. On our website, we have career field links, and so we have a number of different career fields where you can actually go in and you can find the nature of the industry, you can find links to employment opportunities, more information that we have in our office, some different resources regarding each type of career, and related links as well. We also have a section of our website, which we don't have time to show you today, but it's called Majors to Careers. The Majors to Careers project was kind of a way for us to explain to students that what you major in doesn't necessarily translate to what you're going to do for the rest of your life. You're at a liberal arts institution, and so the goal is for you to learn skills while you're at Dartmouth, not just how to be an accountant. That's not something that Dartmouth classes teach you, but Dartmouth classes teach you how to think critically. They teach you quantitative skills or creativity, presentation skills, that kind of thing. And so on the Majors to Careers page, we have the major, the non-content skills learned, and this is something we worked with each department to say, okay, psychology department, we know that you teach psychology, that's the content, but what skills are students learning when they major, what skills should students have mastered by the time they finish the degree in psychology? And they said critical thinking, presentation, cultural competency. There are a number of different skills that they put in there. And then separate from that, or as part of this website, is what Dartmouth alumni have done with this major. And so I'll continue with the psychology example. I don't know off the top of my head what's on the website, but I know that there are people who are working in investment banking with psychology majors. There are people who have gone on to become clinical psychologists. There are people who've gone on to become lawyers. There are people who have started their own business. So being a psychology major opens up many, many different doors. Okay. There are plenty of career resources on reserve, books on reserve in the Baker Library, and then there are career resources and book information in our Career Services office. Our office is actually located, if you haven't been there, downtown at the Bank of America building, and we're on the second floor of the Bank of America building. And I'll give you a hint to anyone who hasn't been there, it is air conditioned, so it's a nice place to hang out in the summer. Feel free, we have a big resource area and computers that you can use there. I talked a little bit earlier about the Employer Connections Fair, but this is also a chance for you to explore different careers that you've never thought about before. And so you might go to the Employer Connections Fair and see a nonprofit organization that you thought, I really want to do well and, make some money, but I also really want to make a difference. And, how am I going to negotiate that? And you might find a nonprofit that is absolutely the perfect fit for you, and then you can start a conversation with them. Or you might find about an industry, you haven't really thought about the pharmaceutical industry, but maybe this is an interesting way for you to learn a little bit more about it. So you can use the Employer Connections Fair not only just to connect with particular employers, but also as a way to explore different careers. The Dartmouth Career Network is probably one of our most used resources. This is a network of 23,000 Dartmouth alumni who have volunteered to assist current Dartmouth students and other alumni with their career development. Now, you can't go in and find someone who works at Disney and say, hey, can I have a job? But you can contact someone who works at Disney and say, hey, I'm really interested in graphic design and I'm interested in the Disney philosophy. Can we talk a little bit more about this? And can you tell me how you got into your job? Because I'm really interested in exploring this area. I'll tell you guys, and parents, this is really important, talk to your students about this, because if they start now, and students, if you start now, you can develop a really cool relationship over the next 2 years, which could be very helpful in your career, your eventual career path, okay? Dartmouth, part of why you're here is because this is Dartmouth. This is a well-known institution, and Dartmouth alumni have a lot of pride in their experience from Dartmouth. And so you connect to someone else. You may not have anything else in common with this person, but you have this common Dartmouth experience, and that's why they're volunteering to help you. So we highly recommend that. The Career Network is both in the Career Services office. You can also find it online through our website and through the Alumni Relations website. When you're using the Dartmouth Career Network, we recommend that you do an informational interview. So this is where you're actually interviewing the professional. You're not interviewing for a job. You're interviewing them to learn a little bit more about them. And so this informational interview is similar to what you're going to be doing today when you're talking with folks about their career path. Okay? Nobody here should be asking for a job in the speed networking. You only have 5 minutes. But you should be learning a little bit about the person, learning a little bit about the professional and what they do and how they got into it. They might be able to give you some really good advice on strategies that you can use to get into a different field or an organization. All right, so once you've done the self-assessment, learned a little bit about yourself, then you've learned a little bit about the career fields that are out there, it's really important to test out this option. So just because you've heard that it's really cool to be a doctor and you can make a little bit of money being a doctor doesn't mean you'll be a good doctor, okay? So you need to test this out. Doing an internship, doing a job shadow where you actually go and you shadow a professional for a day or a week or a period of time. We have a job shadowing program that happens in the winter, over winter break, over spring break and summer. Just winter and summer, I'm sorry. Where you can come in and we have an extensive list, and some of you parents may be on this list, or may want to get on this list, of parents and alumni and friends of the college who are willing to host a Dartmouth Job Shadow student. And so you can go and learn a little bit more about the career, and there are people who are offering Job Shadow throughout the country in lots of different career fields. You should also be considering volunteer experiences, thinking about related coursework. So if you have an interest in global health, there are a few classes at Dartmouth where you can get a little more information about global health. If you're interested in finance, even if you're not an economics major, it might be a good idea to take some economics classes so you have that background and some language to go with it. And getting involved with campus organizations. We're going to give you a quick example in a few minutes about step-by-step how a student might go through this process. Okay, this is the last list, I promise you, but so we've gone through the discovery, the options, and now this is part of the strategy. What resources are you going to use to do your job search? And so there are internship search resources, which is the things that are online, the things that are in our office, book resources and online resources, as well as some books on reserve in the Baker-Berry Library. Dartboard, again, if you go to our website and you click on anything in your website, you'll see an icon that actually has a bullseye, and that's a dartboard, and it says dartboard. And you can go into that. Students, you use your student ID to get a password and go in, okay? The recruiting program I talked a little bit about, where employers sometimes will actually come to campus to interview students, and sometimes they'll do phone interviews and just do resume, where you submit your resume and then the employer will interview you over the phone. We do resume and cover letter reviews and online workshops and handouts that are all online, so you should look into that. If you're starting to think about writing a resume, you might want to look at the resources that we have online. Excuse me, we also have a piece of technology that is called Optimal Resume and Optimal Interview, right there. Optimal Resume, you can just plug in your information and it formats the resume really nicely for you. And that can be really helpful. Optimal Interview is a chance to do a mock interview face-to-face with your computer, but it actually has a video of a person asking you the questions. You can videotape yourself, or not videotape, but digitally record yourself answering the questions. And you can even have that reviewed by one of our career advisors. Okay, so I've given you a lot of information. I'm going to come over here to kind of give you a little bit more example about how this can be used, how this goes into practice for a particular student. So this student, we'll call him Tom, he came in and he said, I'm not really sure what I want to do, but I'm thinking maybe magazine publishing. I'm thinking that might be something interesting for me. I'm interested in sports, but I don't know, so I'd be interested in a sports magazine, but I'm kind of getting interested in the magazine publishing. And so he wasn't sure, so we offered him a career assessment called the Strong Interest Inventory. This measures, it's based on a theory that measures your different interests, students' different interests, and it connects these interests with career environments. Okay, so when he did the Strong Interest Inventory, he said, yeah, this kind of really fits for me, this magazine publishing, it sounds good. So he discussed his results with a career advisor from our office, and he looked at one of the books in our office and read a little bit more about the industry to say, you know, is this still something that I'm interested in? He went to the Dartmouth Career Network and talked with a few alumni that worked. I think we have people that work in lots of different parts of magazine industry, and he talked with some folks for that. And then he got involved with the Green magazine. And so it was just volunteering at first, and then he started writing articles. He took a part-time job with Dartmouth Medicine publication and realized that might not be exactly what he wanted to do. He didn't want to work with medicine, but he was more interested in the publishing part. And he applied for his internship, applied for funding, which is something I haven't mentioned earlier, but there are funding resources on campus where students can get funding to do an unpaid internship. And so the Fisher funding is specifically for media and publishing. What she said. So he applied for this funding. And then he ended up landing an editorial internship with a New York magazine. And so he was right on his way and used lots of different resources throughout this process to go into it. So I'm going to go through one more case study very quickly just to show you how someone tested out an interest in osteopathic medicine. Okay, this student was interested in medicine, but not as interested in the traditional allopathic medicine to become an MD. And so she had heard about osteopathic medicine, which is a little bit different, but they work alongside other physicians, and she thought, well, I'm kind of interested in this, and I want to test this out. So she met with a pre-health advisor to discuss her interests. She shadowed, there's an student organization called the Nathan Smith Society, and she shadowed an osteopathic physician at DHMC through the Nathan Smith Society shadowing program. She got a part-time research position while she was taking classes at Dartmouth Medical School, and then did a summer internship at a diabetes clinic. Okay, so she's really like getting into this and learning a little bit more and figuring out, is she more interested in research? Is she more interested in the medical side of this? She talked with professors about letters of recommendation and then got some letters of recommendation on that LEO system, which I mentioned earlier. So even if she decides not to go into medicine, she still has those letters on file. She volunteered at the Good Neighbor Health Clinic, which is a local clinic that a lot of our Dartmouth students will volunteer with. And then through the Tucker Foundation, traveled to Nicaragua to do an internship, not an internship, but it was a service project with folks down there that's related to medicine. Okay, at the end of her senior year, she decided, yes, this is something I want to do. I want to go into osteopathic medicine, and she initiated her application process. Starting to apply to medical school directly after Dartmouth has to actually start junior year. But if somebody wants to go to medical school, have one gap year in between, they would apply at the end of senior year or even later. And most students at Dartmouth do apply later rather than junior year. All right. So, to summarize this part of our session, I want to give you all, students, 10 things to do before junior winter. Okay, so that's 2 terms away. And parents, these might be things, if something stands out to you, you might want to recommend to your student who's still sleeping. First, to just meet with a career advisor. They don't have to have a plan before they come in and meet with one of us. They can just come in and say, my mom told me I should be here. I'm not exactly sure what to ask, and that's okay. We can get them started. We can ask, okay, when's your next leave term? What's your major? What are you thinking about for a possible career? It's okay, students, if you say, I have no idea. It's really okay. Attend the Employer Connections Fair. Again, this is a chance to talk with employers. This is a chance to test out different career fields. Open a credentials file. if anyone's thinking about going to graduate or professional school, you might want to write down this website. It's Leo at dartmouth.edu, okay? Letters of evaluation online. And students can start asking for letters of recommendation and putting them in their Leo file now. Check out the new Career Services website we mentioned earlier. Have your resume reviewed, okay? Or write a resume if you don't have one yet. For number 6, start your internship search for junior summer, okay? Even if you have an internship between now and junior summer, it isn't crazy to start the internship search now. In particular, if you're going to start networking and using the Dartmouth Career Network. Okay, look into funding opportunities. You might be able to get some money to do this internship, especially if it's unpaid. And check out the undergraduate research and scholarship offices. Okay, we're connected with the scholarship and research offices, but we don't actually oversee that. But we know that students can find some really incredible opportunities through research and scholarship, which is in Wentworth Hall. Use the Dartmouth Career Network to start networking with Dartmouth alumni and to do a mock interview, okay, through the Optimal Interview, which is online. So, I've gone through this very fast because I think that everybody, once you get up in a few minutes, are going to want to spend as much time as possible in this process. So, Kathryn's going to be talking to you a little bit about networking, and in the meantime, in a minute. So, in the meantime, we're going to have the parents who are actually participating, who have signed up in advance, participating in the networking portion of this, go with Rodrigo, go with Karen, I'm sorry, who's waving her hand in this back corner over here. So those of you who are participating, she's going to give you the rundown of what's going to happen. Those parents who are not participating are welcome to stay for the next 10 minutes while we talk about networking. We really want the students to stay to hear about networking. And I'm going to hand you over to Kathryn Doughty.
We've got to manage our time pretty tightly from here on in just to be able to maximize the number of information interviews that students can do with the various parents. So that's why I've got a little clock there to kind of keep me on track. Okay, I'm going to address the students, but everybody benefits. How many of you students here have talked to someone you didn't necessarily know to find out what were some really good courses to take? Okay. How many of you talked to somebody you didn't really know to find out about who's a cool professor? Okay, good. Or what college to go to, or what student organization to belong to. Get the picture? How many of you belong to a student organization? A fraternity or sorority? Okay. Belong to a sport? Engage in a sport? Okay. How many of you went to high school? How many of you have friends? Nobody has friends. Okay. My point is that you have an existing network, but you probably didn't use that word to describe it, but you've got a lot of linkages with neighbors, parents, friends, friends of parents, etc., etc. Networking, there's no mistake about networking. What it is two things. One, it's learning some new information. It's you still engaging in that learning process, but you're going to talk, likely, sometimes, to a stranger to learn that new piece of information, too. Because the more information you have, the better decisions that you're going to be making. Whether it is about career exploration, all right, gee, what does a person do in this type of occupation? What kind of background do they need to have? What kind of education would make sense, or mix of college experiences would make sense to prepare for that career? For job and internship searching, networking is going to be really important to get an idea of, okay, how to develop your strategy. What kind of skills does this particular employer tend to look for? Who is the top performer in that organization, and what makes them a top performer, too? What time of the year should I be applying to this organization, or the organizations you're referring me to? And do you know of people in other organizations that I might be able to speak with as well? For graduate school and professional school, gee, I'd want to be talking to current students. I'd want to also find out, well, what kind of support am I going to get in that graduate program? Will I have opportunities for kind of a practical application in the way of internships or assistantships when I'm in graduate school? What are the specialties of some of the advisors in this graduate program? Because that advisor is going to be advising you. And do your interests line up with the research and the topic that particular faculty member is pursuing? 2. Networking is also about developing relationships. And you've all been developing relationships all your life. First with your family, and then you worked out of there into your schools. You're here at Dartmouth now, and there are a variety of people that you know. This is just 1, 2, 3, 4 more people that you're going to develop a relationship with. Some people who have done networking, actually their relationships have gone on for several years, and the student has really benefited from that too. Networking, yes, can be really fun. It's fun to get acquainted with an individual. It's fun to know that you're on track. It's fun to get the strategy on how to do it right and not waste your time, right? Because we know that time is a real challenge at Dartmouth. You're meeting new and interesting people. Nowadays, it's not just enough to have a Dartmouth degree to get to your next goal. Networking is a very big part of that strategy, too. We don't expect that you know how to do this, even though you have been doing it, right? So that's why we can provide you with information on what are the protocols that you need to follow. What standards do we have for what we call information interviewing, too? And it's really not rocket science. A lot of it is you being genuine, you being polite, you knowing what questions you're asking and why. What's your goal, too? So, you belong to several networks, right? But now that you're at Dartmouth, you're able to actually expand the number of networks that you can tap into. Kim talked about the Dartmouth Career Network, which is enormous. And I will tell you that people who have used the Dartmouth Career Network have left here more confident, have made better decisions, and used much, much better strategies, too. You know, I work mainly with seniors, and at the beginning of fall term, I meet with probably about 350 seniors in a group session like this. And it's kind of a no-kidding presentation that I do as to how to how to go through each of the remaining terms that they have, and what goals they should have, and the attitude that they should have. And I'll even say to the students, because I got to tell you, we spend a lot of time getting acquainted with the campus here and the students in this campus. You know, what motivates you, what are you doing, what are the stresses, where are you in the term, all of that kind of stuff. So we know that there's a lot going on, we know you're really busy. And because of all of that, we're trying to give some very direct advice so that you're going to be successful coming out the other end. Well, I'm talking to the seniors, right? And I know, and I'll say to them, you know, I know I'm talking the English language and you understand that. And you're going like this, right? But I know in your head you're going like this. And they all burst out laughing, you know. Well, by November, the seniors start to acknowledge, oh, this is what you were talking about. Yeah, but I don't want you to go through all those months of anxiety and not knowing and wasting your time, you know, because you could have asked beforehand. And, you know, oftentimes it isn't until January that the seniors will go, you know what? I've got an uncle who works in whatever kind of industry or whatever profession, and he knows somebody who works in media, right? And they start to realize, oh my heavens, I really do have a lot of networks, even outside of the Dartmouth network, in my personal life. So, where am I getting? Well, start to identify who you're connected to now. What do they do? Where do they work? They all know other people. You could talk to one person and get 10 other contacts. It's terrific the way it multiplies, too. The attitude that you want to have when you're doing networking is, today, I'm going to meet an interesting person. It's as simple as that. The goal that you want to have is, I want to learn at least one thing from that person. I think if you can frame it as a learning experience, it's going to be a whole lot more fun for you, too. Some of the other networks besides the Dartmouth Alumni Network, we've got the Dartmouth Lawyers Association, we've got Dartmouth Alumni in Entertainment, Dartmouth Alums for Social Change. I think there was a new one that just emerged, Dartmouth Alumni associated with sustainability and environmental interests and careers. There's a number of them that we can give you advice on how to plug into them, too. On our website, in the front page, we've got all these, like 5 bars. If you click on Toolkit, you'll get a list of resources. The very first one is the Alumni Network. Okay? You use your Blitz name and password to get in, and you can search whatever you want. And there are drop-down boxes to help get you started. We also provide you with guidelines as to how to do this, how to contact this individual. The first thing that you're going to be doing is you're going to send what we call a letter of introduction. And you're saying, how did you find out about this person? You understand that they're a career advisor, they're willing to assist students. And what is it that your goal is? Well, we've written that letter for you, okay? Makes it a whole lot easier. But you have to know why it is you're doing this in the first place, because it's going to influence how you tweak that letter, too. Your ultimate goal is to have a conversation with this person, right? Well, so you send out this email to them with the guidance of this template, and you're telling them, I will call you in what, a week, to arrange an opportunity to have a conversation. That may sound a little odd. I'm going to call you to schedule a phone appointment. Well, one, you don't wait to get the email back from the person that you're sending it to, because you're the one who wants the assistance. You're the one who wants to learn something. You take the initiative to follow up, okay? When you call them, maybe they want to talk to you right away, and they can talk to you right away, but maybe not. So you need to be ready in case the conversation is going to start immediately. Otherwise, you're going to schedule a time that's convenient for everybody, too. So you get the opportunity to let's say, schedule an appointment, or not an appointment, but a call with whoever, whether it's an alum or not. A very wise first question to ask, okay, you get a lot of mileage out of this, is, do you mind telling me, like using the next couple of minutes to talk about your career path from when you left Dartmouth to what you're doing today? People love to talk about themselves. They love it, okay? Psychologically, puts them in a really good place. Well, they're not just going to tell you one thing, they're going to tell you several things. Different jobs that they held, different organizations that they worked with. This is part of your education too. And isn't it nice to know that there are many, many choices out there? You're not limited in your access and your options too. When you go to do any kind of networking, know what your purpose is. Is your purpose to get an understanding of a profession? Is your purpose to get some advice on how to strategize your job search? Is your purpose to help you develop a plan for graduate school? Because if you're not clear what your purpose is, you're going to go in, and you could go in half-cocked, okay? Yeah, we know you want an internship, but you don't know what this profession is about, right? And this profession may have many specialties in that profession, too. And that later on in an interview process, an employer might say, well, which part of this profession are you interested in, right? You don't want to be caught going, oh, I don't know anything. So the very first use of any network is to get acquainted with professions, right? Once you're acquainted, then you can go back to the same person, but you can also go to other people to find out more about job search strategies. I always mention to students that they make it a practice to, for every person they talk to, come up with 2 other people that they can forward you on to. Lastly, it's really important to send a thank you note, okay? The thank you is the alum or whoever's in that network wants to know, what did you decide to do? And they want to be acknowledged. They're giving you time and advice. So it's really important, too. Also, think about telling them, what did you learn from this experience? Okay? So I think everybody's kind of ready right now. And so we're going to ask the parents to come back.
Well, wait just a second. We want to make sure that any student here who doesn't have a little networking card raises your hand now. And a couple of folks are going to bring you the networking cards. And just keep your hand up until you get the networking card. Karen, did you want to? Okay. And then there is going to be a session, I believe Linda said it was going to be in Collis 101. Can someone confirm that? The session that parents who are not involved in the speed networking, if you're not involved in speed networking, you can take a break, you can observe the speed networking.
You can stay.
You're welcome
and observe
to stay.
It if you'd like.
It's kind of fun to watch. But students, go ahead. You can go ahead and move to the place that corresponds on your card, the number that corresponds with your card.